What makes a person a great person? And how can you become better and achieve the success you aspire to? Much of what we talk about today, manifestation, motivation, mindset, courage, authenticity, faith and so on, has its roots in ancient times. The great Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Seneca spent much of their time reflecting on this and left us clear rules for how to do it. Their wisdom goes deep, and today I'll share 15 Stoic rules for life that fall under the heading of control. And over the next 2 videos, I'll cover more Stoic rules for life that will cover character and conclude with perspective. In total, about 50 short and sweet rules that can have a profound effect on the quality of your life. But why Stoic philosophy? Well, since my early beginnings in the personal development space 4 or 5 years ago, I realised that philosophy is the bedrock on which character is based. And often a mismatched philosophy leads to mismatched results, but we're often unconscious of these drives. In my life, for example, when I get into the zone and I'm working on something that really lights me up, time becomes illusory. I get like this the most when I'm in creative mode and can suddenly find myself bleary-eyed long after midnight working on something really interesting instead of turning in for a good night's sleep. I say health is my number one value, but there's something inside me that manages to override this and just push through. There's a mismatch between my perception or desire and my underlying philosophy, so I end up compromising my health. So, our philosophy drives our real values, and I'll actually speak more about this in a future video. But for now, let's look at the Stoics' 15 control-related philosophies and rules to help you live the life of your dreams. Epictetus says it's the chief task of life. Identify and separate matters so that you can clearly say which are entirely under your control and which are external and out of your control. The rationale? If it's in your control, give it 100%. If it's not, don't give it any. If we focus on what we control and invest our energy, effort and emotions there, we make a real difference in our life. We create more happiness. But if we focus on what's outside of our control, we end up with the opposite. Let's not do that. As Marcus Aurelius says, if you're pained by external things, it is not that they disturb you, but your own judgment of them, and it is in your power to wipe that judgment out now. Viktor Frankl also says, forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing, your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation. By ignoring everything that's not up to you, by refraining from regret or complaint or blame and focusing on the situation and asking, what am I going to do about it? Then this is how you move forward. This is what all great leaders, artists and human beings do. They focus on what they control. And what they can control is how they respond to what happens in life. So put every impression, every feeling, every emotion, every instinctive response to the test before acting on it. You might save yourself a lot of trouble. Seneca says, I at least am not a hindrance to myself, meaning that he doesn't make his problems worse by dwelling on them or complaining about them. Not only is complaining ineffective, it makes you miserable. It poisons the room, poisons the atmosphere. It's like a cancer. Don't make your troubles worse by complaining about how bad they are, how unfair they are, how not your fault they are, how impossible they are to overcome. Focus on what you can control. Focus on the good, and that's plenty. It's easy to get upset by things, which is why the Stoics say that we have the power to have no opinion. You can choose to think nothing about something. If you didn't know it existed, you wouldn't have an opinion. Now that you know it exists, great, but you don't have to say it's positive or negative. You don't have to say it's anything. Let it just be. Seeing things objectively and withdrawing judgments from them is very important. As Marcus Aurelius says, it's not things that upset us, but our opinion of these things. We control our opinions, and no opinion is perfectly valid. Seneca says we suffer more in imagination than reality. The stuff that you're worried about will happen or it won't, and worrying doesn't affect it. Seneca says don't feel more than you have to. Deal with that when it comes. For now, focus what's in front of you. Focus on what you need to do. Don't add to your suffering by anticipating it and by suffering in advance. That only adds up to more suffering. The process of premeditatio malorum, or meditation on future evils, comes to us from Seneca. He says to be ready for exile, war, torture, shipwreck, and all the bad stuff, because they're going to happen. He says the unforeseen blow lands heaviest, and by anticipating things we take the power away from them. Tim Ferriss created a 3-step process called fear setting based on this, and the full video is linked below. Go check it out. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is said that if you would have peace of mind, busy yourself with little, but wouldn't a better saying be, do what you must and as required of a rational being created for public life? But we must corral not only unnecessary actions, but unnecessary thoughts too, so needless acts don't tag along after them. Most of what we do, most of what we spend time on, and most of the things that other people do and spend their time on are actually not essential. As Marcus says, that when you eliminate what's inessential, you get the double benefit of doing the essential things better. So ask yourself in every moment, is this essential? Yes or no? And if you do need to do it because it is essential, give it everything. Your life will take on much greater focus and clarity." Because outcomes are not in our control, but the process and effort is, the Stoics say focus on effort, not outcomes. Ignore the intended results and focus on what's in front of you. This is an important part of getting things done, and also helps us remain centered and resilient when things don't go as planned. By remaining focused on what we can control, the process and the effort, we can quickly regain control of the ship and steer it and us back on course. I use this all the time, and a friend recently texted me out of the blue to tell me they admire the way I get on with things in my life, no matter what other things are going on around me, things that would derail most people. Success is internal. You have to ask yourself, did I do what I set out to do? Did I do what I needed to do? Everything else is irrelevant. Epictetus says that every situation has 2 handles, and you should always grab the smooth handle, that one of the handles will hold weight and the other won't. What handle are you going to grab in this situation? The one that empowers you, or the one that disempowers you? The one that makes you angry, or the one that gives you something to focus on and change? Grab the one that makes you better. It gives you something to do that challenges you and makes you grow. Ignore the other handle. You have to say no a lot. This goes back to Marcus Aurelius. Ask, is this essential? If it's not essential, what do you do? This is the rule. You say no, and you have to say no. Everything you say yes to means you're saying no to something else, and whatever you say no to gives you more room, more time to say yes to what matters. And we heard about that from the cast of Bullet Train recently too. So, what are you going to say no to, so that you can say yes to the things that matter, and to the people that matter in your life as well? Yes, the Stoics had high standards. Yes, they worked very hard, but they had this rule: be tolerant with others, strict with yourself. Cato says, "I forgive any error but my own." This is called self-discipline. It's what you ask of yourself. What other people say or do, the mistakes they make, leave them for them. Philosophy is about attending to your flaws, not other people's. Leave other people to their own mistakes. Don't judge them, especially people who are going through things that you don't know about. Focus on yourself. Remember to give 100% on what you can control and 0% on what you can't. Forgiveness is a gift that you give to yourself. Marcus Aurelius says the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. I would add to that it's also not to hang on to whatever triggered you. You have to let go. You have to forgive. Yes, Marcus Aurelius says that if you know someone's cheating in the ring with you, then you have to act accordingly. But you can't hold on to grudges because they make you miserable. A grudge is a poison you give to yourself every day. You don't want that. Zeno says well-being is realised by small steps, but it's no small thing. Marcus Aurelius says assemble your life action by action, and no one can stop you from that. A little bit of progress every day adds up. Become 1% better every day, and that adds up to 37% in a year. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Take the step and your journey begins. Don't take it and you'll never reach your dreams. Start today. What goes up must come down. It's a natural rule. And Marcus Aurelius reminds us to remember to accept it without arrogance, to let it go without indifference. Accept the good things while they're here, and accept the bad things while they're here. None of them change who you are and what you can do. You need to be good and gracious and resilient in success, and you need to be good, gracious and resilient in failure. You need to be humble when you're on high, and you need to be humble when life has humbled you. Be who you are, be the even keel. Don't let your circumstances change your high or low. All of it is irrelevant to who you are. Don't identify with success or failure. Focus on who you are and what you control. The secret to charging ahead is actually slowing down and seeing things clearly. I did that over the summer, and I know my best work never comes when I'm trying to do 50 things at the same time. Marcus Aurelius talks about how we want to be the rock that the waves are crashing over and eventually fall still around. Can you tune out what's happening outside? Can you tune out the crowd, then hit the game-winning shot? Can you focus on what you need to focus on? Can you see things clearly without the bias and immediacy of the moment? That's why stillness is so important, and that's why the Stoics talk about it over and over and over again, and why it's such an important rule of life. Click the like button if you learned anything today. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Remember to comment below and let me know which rule you found the most helpful, and watch this video next. Dream, dare, rise. That's Edward, signing out. Peace.